I have two questions for you. How was the UCL formed and why did they even make it?
Gol madrileño con la escolta de Di Stéfano y Coseino.
Before there was a Champions League, before the Ballon d'Or seemed to almost always go for the winner of the UCL, before big clubs consider their season to be a failure for not winning it, there was resistance to the making of a European international tournament. Clubs were afraid it would take away from their domestic leagues. Sound familiar?
In terms of Florentino Perez at Real Madrid, we will help football at every level.
Now, in 2022, we struggle to accept the changing landscape of the game. I myself hate the changes of the new UCL format, or that a Super League could forever reshape football. The fact of the matter is that football has always been changing and struggling while doing so. Today, we're going to take a dive into history, not just for football, but as per usual, a dive of world history. Why? Because it's fucking awesome and I love it. And so do you. So let's find out together. How was the UCL formed and why did they even make it?
Este es Julinho, el más destacado elemento del ataque italiano, quien consecución del preciado título de campeones de Europa.
I want to introduce you to a well-known football legend. Well-known but grossly unknown. His name, in English, Gabriel Hanot. Not sure how to say it in French. Something like Gabriel Hanot. The man behind the European Champions Clubs Cup, aka modern-day UEFA Champions League. This was not the first time they tried to make an international European football tournament. So, why was Europe ready for it in 1955 and not before? To answer this question, we need to go back a couple of decades. There were several attempts to create an international European football tournament before the Champions League was established. The first of these was the Mitropa Cup, which was founded in 1927 and featured teams from Central Europe. The tournament was named after the Mitteleuropa region, which encompassed several countries in Central Europe, including Austria, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and Yugoslavia. In 1929, Yugoslavia was replaced for Italy. The idea for the Mitropa Cup was inspired by the success of the national team competitions, such as the Central European International Cup, which had been played between the three founding countries since 1924. At the time, there was a race to establish a status quo for football. In the 1930s, there was a big competition between the English Football League, the Italian Serie A, the French League, and the Spanish La Liga. Leagues that feature the best clubs from across Europe, often promoting the trade of international players at a scale unlike anywhere else. However, for all the international player trade going on, these leagues favored a more nationalistic view of the development of the sport. Venues that could have pushed for a more international cooperative football system. However, the absence of the FA and the rise of fascism in Italy, Germany, and Spain stopped Europe from taking advantage of this opportunity. Soon after that, the drums of war echoed across Europe as the old continent plunged into a Second World War.
The white zone is for immediate.
Many countries were occupied by the Axis powers, and football matches were often used as propaganda tools by the occupying forces. FIFA had to cancel the 1942 and 1946 World Cup tournaments. During the war, FIFA was based in Switzerland, which was a neutral country, and this allowed the organization to continue its administrative functions, organizing friendly matches between national teams to promote goodwill and friendship between countries. Something worthy of noting, time and time again, football proved a powerful tool to promote goodwill, friendship, cultural exchange, and economic growth. Therefore, following the war, Europe was ready to accept the transition of football into an international stage. The Latin Cup was an international football tournament inspired by the Mitropa Cup, and it was played between 1949 and 1957. The tournament was organized by L'Equipe newspaper and featured teams from France, Italy, Spain, and Portugal. The tournament aimed to promote unity amongst Europeans. The first edition of the tournament was played in 1949 and featured 4 teams. After World War II, Europe faced a massive challenge in rebuilding its economies and political structures, while also promoting peace and stability in the region. The task of post-war reconstruction was immense, and it required a coordinated effort from European countries and international organizations alike. An important initiative for the post-war integration in Europe was the establishment of the European Coal and Steel Community. The ECSC was founded by France, West Germany, Italy, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands in 1951, and it was designed to integrate the coal and steel industries of these countries. The ECSC was later succeeded by the European Economic Community, which was founded in 1957 and was the precursor to modern-day European Union. You can begin to see where I'm going with this. In addition to these initiatives, there were also efforts to promote cultural and social integration in Europe. The creation of the Council of Europe in 1949 helped to promote cooperation between European countries in areas such as human rights, culture, and education. There were also efforts to promote sports and cultural events which helped to bring European countries together. The efforts of European countries and international organizations to rebuild Europe after the war laid the foundation for the political, economic, and cultural integration that has continued to this day. So, even though the 1930s and the 1950s are separated only by 20 years, the world had undergone a struggle that made countries and people alike mature perhaps an entire millennium. Now, Europe was ready for international football. The proposition for the European Champions Clubs Cup was formally proposed by Gabriel Hanet, who led a coalition of football officials from the French, Italian, and Spanish football federations. Later, more would join. The competition was at first known as the European Champions Clubs Cup. It was initially a tournament for the champions of each European national league and was later expanded to include the runner-ups of certain leagues. The first European Champions Club Cup was funded by UEFA. They provided the necessary funds to cover the costs of the tournament, including travel and accommodation for the teams involved, while also providing a prize fund for the winners of the tournament. The participating clubs in the first 5 seasons of the European Cup were selected by French football magazine L'Equipe on the basis that they were prestigious clubs in Europe and also on the basis that they were the champions of their national leagues. Okay, so here's a list of some of the initial teams. I will try my best to butcher the names here. So, here we go. When the tournament started, we had Real Madrid, Anderlecht, AC Milan, Rot-Weiss Essen, Stade de Reims, Djurgården, and AGF Argus were the reigning champions of their respective national leagues. There were also teams from Austria, former sovereign state Saarland, Hungary, Switzerland, Scotland, Poland, and former Yugoslavia. A true international endeavor. English champions Chelsea initially agreed to compete and were drawn against Swedish side Djurgården. However, under pressure from the Football League, who saw the tournament as a distraction to domestic football, they later withdrew from the competition. Scottish champions Aberdeen withdrew under similar circumstances, and Hibernian replaced them going on a semi-final run. Real Madrid was crucial to the foundation of the European Champions Clubs Cup, as they were the first team to win the tournament in the 1955-56 edition. This victory helped establish the tournament as one of the most prestigious competitions in European football. During this period, Real Madrid established itself as the dominant force in European club football, winning the first 5 editions of the tournament in a row. Before Zidane won 3 in a row, before Ramos lifting the cup became a usual headline, before CR7 became Mr. Champions League, Real Madrid were led by legendary players such as Ferenc Puskás, Alfredo Di Stéfano, and Paco Gento, winning multiple European cups in the 1950s and 1960s, cementing their place in football history as the kings of Europe. And in the process, they helped unify Europe in a magical manner for the sake of avoiding another tragedy. So, how was the UCL formed and why did they make it? It was formed at the threshold of European transition from nationalistic imperialism to international global cooperation. Football was instrumental in the post-war healing and making of a lasting European peace, which truly makes our favorite club football competition ever more beautiful. If you enjoy the content I'm making, don't be shy and subscribe to my channel. Let's build a community of futboleros that enjoy watching, playing, and commenting football. Let's continue exploring history through the lens of football. And until I see you again, keep footing, futboleros.